What's going on, y'all? Welcome to MMA Bros. I'm Nate.
I'm Elijah.
And today we're going to be giving you guys our predictions on UFC Fight Night, Jared Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imavov. And we're not going to do the whole prelims, just mainly because there's a lot of throwaway fights, but we're going to start this one up with Brad Katona versus Jesse Butler. And this one's interesting because I know Brad Katona, he's a two-time Ultimate Fighter champ, quote unquote, and he is good. He's more all around. But Jesse Butler, in his most recent fight, his debut, just got knocked out, like pretty bad. I think it was by Jim Miller. So I mean, Jim Miller got power, and he's really good in those dogfight type fights. But the thing is Jim Miller is not the most technical. I mean, he is technical, but he's not top 15, you know. And granted, he's one of those guys where if you can't beat him, then you don't deserve to be in the top 15, top 20 for that matter. So, but Brad Katona is young too, and he's upcoming. It's honestly hard to really gauge this fight, if I'm gonna be honest with you. But I'm more leaning towards Brad Katona because Jesse Butler hasn't really shown what he can truly do. And I'm not going to count him out completely. He has a good reach advantage over Brad Katona. And Brad Katona could use his wrestling, you know, and I haven't seen Jesse Butler's wrestling defense, I know his grappling defense. And I feel like this one can honestly just go to decision just mainly because of the takedown threat. I feel like that's going to be a big statement in this fight that Brad Katona can win, you know. And honestly, it's one of those fights like, dang, these guys, more so Brad Katona, it's like this guy, man, like he had a good little spark for a second. Won his fight right after the Ultimate Fighter, and then after that, he just didn't look as good. He looked a lot less than what we thought he was. So I feel like in this fight can really show that Brad Katona deserves to be in the UFC still. Granted, he did win Ultimate Fighter, so he does deserve, but at the same time, it's one of those instances where like, dang, man, like you really fought a no-name and lost to decision. So it's tough for me to say, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like neither of these two fighters are really going to be top 20, top 15 type of fighters. They're always going to stay outside of that top 25 area. Especially Jesse Butler. I think he's very unimpressive. He's lost to fighters that are just not that good. As I was looking through his record, looking at the guys that he's lost to, these guys are not that good. And at least Brad Katona's losing to UFC level fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like you said, I thought Brad Katona, after the Ultimate Fighter, whenever he beat Cody Gibson, I thought, you know what, Katona looks like a prospect. But then we see how Cody Gibson looks now, and Cody Gibson ain't all that good. So Brad Katona's win over Cody Gibson in hindsight really isn't all that good because he went tooth and nail against Cody Gibson. Like, they were going back and forth. So, yeah, both of these guys are iffy fighters, but I think Jesse Butler's a much more iffy fighter than Brad Katona. So I'm more confident in Brad Katona in this one.
For sure. I don't want to say, I know you said that these guys are going to be always outside the top 25. I feel like with this, so the way Brad Katona is, he's a much more cerebral fighter. He's a very smart guy. And I feel like he can get past that hump. I think that's what it is. It's like a really large hill that needs to climb to really get to where he's work on his boxing a lot more. His grappling is there, in my opinion. I believe his grappling and wrestling is there. It's just that his stand-up isn't what I thought it really was. So it's tough to say, but I feel like Brad Katona could hit that top 20, top 25 if he just puts in that boxing work. I honestly believe that's his biggest thing. It's not the worst boxer, don't get me wrong, but it seems like he's not, his decision-making is the good part about him. And I feel like that can go a long way in the UFC.
Next fight up, we got Charles Radke versus Carlos Prates. And originally I was thinking, you know, Charles Radke is a good underdog pick, and I was going to go for Charles Radke because he looked really good against Gilbert Urbina and knocked him out. He showed his power. He showed he has a really good left hook. And I saw something in Prates' game against Trevin Giles where I was like, I could see Radke catching him with the left hook. But I think Prates is going to be tough enough to, if he does get hit with that left hook, to be able to take it. And I think that he's also going to have the range. He's going to have that reach. He's younger than Charles Radke. And Charles Radke also, he looked a little bit iffy against Blood Diamond, going for a lot of takedowns. He looked gassed out in that third round, and it wasn't really a good look. But then again, it was his debut. And I feel like you could say, you know, Carlos Prates didn't look that good either against Trevin Giles, but it was in his debut, and at least he got the KO win. And also another thing I want to put out there is I feel like Trevin Giles is better than any fighter Charles Radke has fought, and I think Charles Radke's a tougher UFC debut by miles than Blood Diamond, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So I think I'm confident in Carlos Prates. I think he's going to improve. His kickboxing is really good, and you know I'll say that he looked a little bit shaky in that Trevin Giles fight, and I think it was because it was his debut. Now it's his second fight. He's fighting a guy that's, you know, kind of a lower to step down in competition compared to Trevin Giles, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with Carlos Prates. I think he's going to take a decision and pick him apart on the outside. But it could be a really close fight. And like I said, Charles Radke could catch him.
I think I'm going to go the opposite. I agree with a lot of the things you're saying, of course, especially, you know, with Blood Diamond and Radke. I think Radke is beyond miles in his debut versus Carlos Prates. You know, I don't think Carlos he's good. He has power. He's strong. Pretty decent kickboxing. But if you're getting pieced up by Trevin Giles, I think you got some work to do. You know what I mean? Like, that's my true opinion.
And I think he's gonna make the work. I think he's gonna improve.
I don't think.
And I also saying that I'll say that he looked a little shaky
Yeah.
in his debut, and it's because it was his debut against Trevin Giles, who's a tough debut.
I don't think 5 months is enough time for someone that already has their style. That's when he fought Trevin Giles. I don't think that's enough time for him to make enough adjustments to fight someone like Radke. I think Radke has the power. He is a much better pressure fighter than Trevin Giles, at least from what I've seen. And if dude's going to be running away the whole time, Carlos I'm talking about, I think he's going to get hit with that left hook. There's a lot of, the biggest thing I've seen with the Trevin Giles fight is that Trevin Giles is not as a tight puncher. He swings very wide, and he was landing wide punches. But if Radke hits one of his left hooks, I truly believe he's going to put him out. What you say is very fair. I feel like, yeah, it's his jitters, I guess, but he didn't look like he was jittery in that fight. He just looked like he was being outclassed, because he was, until he hit Trevin Giles with a really good straight, caught him off balance, and knocked him out clean, like cold. So, I feel like he definitely has a shot against Radke. But if it goes to decision, there's no way Prates is winning. I mean, I don't want to say that, and it happens. It's possible, but I don't see it. It's hard for me to see how he can win that, especially with this style. It's basically with the body types too as well. They're facing very similar fighters than their previous fighters, and Radke looked a lot better versus a guy taller and a longer range, and he was doing really well against, Urbina doesn't have the stand-up of Carlos Prates, but at the same time, it's that range. He was not getting touched. He's very poised. He looks a lot smarter, like in his fights, his most recent fights compared to Blood Diamond. He's going about it a whole another totally different way. So I feel like this could honestly, it can go in a knockout either way. I really don't see a decision. It could happen. If it does happen, I'm going to go with Radke. I'm kind of like complete opposite than you right now. And I see what you're saying, but Radke, I think his overall boxing is going to be a huge problem for Prates.
I think he'll be able to overcome it because, Trevin Giles wasn't landing that clean at certain moments. And Charles Radke, like I said, with the Blood Diamond fight, I feel like you got to put away Blood Diamond because Blood Diamond ain't really all that good. And in my opinion, Carlos Prates would have knocked out Blood Diamond if he took Blood Diamond on in his debut. Even if he was jittery, even the way he looked against
Radke would have fought Blood Diamond now, he'd knock him out as well. Because he really is, and what I've seen, I'm being totally honest, what I've seen, he looks like a much better striker than when he fought Blood Diamond. Blood Diamond, he's not the best, but his striking is pretty decent. That's all it is. So whenever you face a decent striker with another decent striker, I've seen Radke tends to go for takedowns, but that was only in his first fight in the UFC. So he could have evolved a lot more. I think he has. I think he evolved more than what Prates could have in this short 5 months against Trevin Giles. And the next fight we got here is Thiago Moises versus Ludovic Klein. And this one's a tough one, and I think I'm going to go with the underdog again. Mainly because I think if he's able to pressure Thiago Moises and to get his back against the cage, I think he's probably going to sleep him. You know, Thiago Moises has a lot of trouble with pressure fighters. People like Benoit. You know, like, granted, Benoit, St. Denis, he's in the top 15. He's a great fighter, strong-willed, very, like I said, pressure, a lot of volume. But if Ludovic can create that pressure and that volume onto Thiago Moises, I think he's going to have his hands full. As long as he doesn't get taken down. If he's able to defend the takedowns well and stay off of his back, I think it's going to be a long day for Thiago Moises. Who knows? Thiago Moises could have been upgrading his stand-up more recently and prove us wrong. And it's mainly because I'm kind of doubtful, because I thought Thiago Moises was much better than what he has shown to us lately. And it's the same instance with Brad Katona. It's like Thiago Moises can be top 15, top 10, top 20 easily if he just works on a few things. His stand-up and his defensive stand-up. That's the biggest thing, I believe, is what he can work on. And I'm not going to completely count him out, because, you know, he's still gaining knowledge, gaining more skills, adding to his tool belt. So it's hard to say with this one as well. But I think Ludovic Klein could definitely knock him out. I think that's what I'm going to go for.
Yeah, I'm going for Ludovic Klein too. But, you know, this is a close fight. It could really go either way. And Thiago Moises, like you said, he has a tendency, he has that ability to be broken. Like, people can just break him. They can, if they put that pressure on him and they box him up against the cage and just start landing combinations, they can put him away and they can break him. And Ludovic Klein is really good at that, really good at getting you up against the cage and landing them nice body shots. And that was the same thing Benoit was doing, going to the body up against the cage. Except I feel like Ludovic Klein's more technical than Benoit. Benoit's kind of more of a brawler, and he just swing.
Much Ludovic Klein,
Ludovic Klein, he picks his shots more. And yeah, I could see him landing a body shot, hurting Moises, dropping him, and finishing him off with some ground and pound. Yeah. But I do want to say Moises has a chance, because he did look good against Mitch Ramirez.
He did.
So that was a good comeback win. He showed his striking wasn't too bad. His leg kicks looked really good in that fight. But
that's Mitch Ramirez. No offense to him, but Mitch Ramirez doesn't defend the leg kick well, and he's a much more of a wide swinging power puncher. Not much of a brawler, but a power puncher. So, and it's much different when you got someone that's he's similar to a brawler, but he's not as wild, like you were saying. And he will eat it. He will take a punch to throw one. He's not scared to do that. And I feel like if he connects on Thiago, it's gonna be night, to be very honest with you.
Yeah, I see him tearing Moises' body up. But Moises does have a solid chance, but I'm going to go with Ludovic Klein. I see him pulling this off by TKO.
Yeah, me too.
Next fight up, we got Miguel Beza versus Punahele Soriano. And I'm going to go with Soriano. Miguel Beza, in his last two fights, he got put out cold by Chaos Williams, put out cold by Andre Fialho. And we've seen Fialho, he's gotten slept in his last like 3 or 4 fights too. So that's not a good look. And Miguel Beza, if you're getting knocked out, you know, in your last 2 fights, he's probably not going to be that confident in his next fight, going up against a powerful puncher in Soriano. And Soriano, he's got really good body kicks. He's not just a power puncher. He's not just a slugger. He can land those shots and he can be technical if he wants. And Miguel Beza, I think he's probably going to get chinned in this fight. Maybe he'll survive. Maybe he'll make it to a decision. But I don't really see him winning in any way. Maybe he can use his reach advantage and jab up Soriano and win a decision. But I don't see it, man. His confidence isn't going to be there. He's getting slept in his last 2 fights. Soriano, on the other hand, he's lost to Dustin Stoltzfus in his last fight. But Dustin Stoltzfus is a big, strong grappler. And Beza is a lot more lanky. He's not a big, strong guy. He's not a grappler either. You don't really see him submitting anybody. He's a striker. So this is going to be a striking match for the most part. And I see Soriano winning it.
And honestly, even to be honest, I think Beza, he, like, on his professional record, he has a lot of knockouts. And I've seen so many things where he just put people down, punching them, kneeing them, beating them up on the ground. So it's possible that he can get over that and these past 2 knockouts, I think, because his striking isn't the worst, but whenever you get knocked out by other iffy fighters, I think that's the biggest red flag to me. Like Chaos Williams, he's a great fighter. He's very iffy though. Loses to guys that he should have win against guys he should have lost to. So same thing with Fiallo. Fiallo has some really good striking, Chris, but he's gotten put down multiple times by some fighters. It's like, dang, what is this fighter doing now? And it's not much of anything. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of weird. He's 2 iffy fighters, and then nothing against Soriano. I think he's less iffy, mainly because he's been thrown into the wolves. He fought people like Kopylov. And Kopylov is Kopylov. We all know what he's doing right now, and he's tearing through the division right now, and he's looking really good at it. So it's I think when it comes to straight up competition, Soriano looked better against the better competition, and it takes someone taking him down, and I think I'm gonna go for the Samoan power, because this dude, like he looks like he has that potential to do something and make a splash in the division, but he just hasn't been able to get over that grappling hump. And that's another thing. Like when you go into the UFC, you have to be really well-rounded, and I don't think Soriano's the most well-rounded. And his size, where he's at, he can't just rely on his grit and his power and the striking that he does have. I haven't really seen too much instances of Soriano just getting totally outclassed on the feet. So that's why I really believe that this is one of those fights where the guy that's a little bit more iffy is going to lose, like for sure. Because Soriano, he's a bit iffy himself, but nowhere near on the level of Beza. So
yeah, I think Soriano, he's iffy because of his grappling. Like, yeah, he got smoked up by Kopylov, but I feel like that kind of just proves in order to beat Soriano, you have to be an elite striker or have good grappling. You don't have to have elite grappling, but if you have good grappling, you can beat him, and that's where he's a little bit iffy, because if you just have a decent enough grappling, you're going to get that takedown, and you're going to be able to hold him down. But Miguel Beza, he hasn't shown that grappling.
He has none of that.
Yeah, he hasn't shown that. So I'm confident in Soriano pulling this off. I think it's a good matchup for Soriano to get a win here.
Yeah, me too. The fight we got on the card is Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stoltzfus. And honestly, we were just talking about Dustin, and at first I was going for Bruno Ferreira. I'm still kind of torn on who to choose, because Dustin has some great grappling. He's a gritty fighter. He can take a damn punch, you know. But Bruno Ferreira's power is insane. He has some insane power, and if he's able to keep his standing somehow, I think Bruno Ferreira is going to be able to knock him clean out, you know. And this is also a tough matchup to really see, because Bruno Ferreira is a bit iffy, you know. He got beat by Bruno Ferreira. Just got recently knocked out by Ruzaboev, and Ruzaboev, he's really good, but we seen what Buckley did to him. He kind of exposed Ruzaboev.
But then again, when you think about it, like, he exposed Ruzaboev, but he had a competitive fight with Buckley.
Yeah.
So that shows that he's a good fighter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
for sure. He's top 15 without a doubt. Mm-hmm. And it's tough to say for Bruno Ferreira, because he's on that precipice. If he just has a couple good wins, he could also be in the top 15. So he needs to go out there and knock out Dustin. I think he knows that. And I think that's going to be a weakness for him. I think that Dustin's going to see it coming from a mile away. I think he's going to take him down, beat him up on the ground, and probably get a submission. So I think overall, I'm going to have to go for Dustin.
Wow. I'm going to go for Bruno Ferreira. I'm going to go for Bruno Ferreira because you're right. Stoltzfus, I think right now we're going to fight. This fight is going to show us how good Bruno Ferreira's grappling is, because he hasn't really been tested against high-level grapplers. And like you said, Stoltzfus, he's big, he's strong, and, you know, he went out there but honestly, he didn't look that impressive against Soriano. Yeah. He was kind of getting pieced up on the feet, and I think Bruno Ferreira has more power than Soriano. He has more finishing ability, in my opinion. So I think he's going to finish him. I think Bruno Ferreira is going to defend the takedowns, and I think he's going to knock him out.
I hope he does, because that's what I was going with at first. But the more I looked at Dustin Stoltzfus and his grappling, because he does have good grappling, really good grappling. And like you said, we haven't seen Bruno Ferreira's grapple, so that could be a toss-up right there. Like, we would never know until we actually see somebody go down there and take him down.
Exactly.
You know, so, but he's very strong, and I think that's just enough. With the technique he has, that's not much for, you know, middleweight. You know, middleweight doesn't have the greatest technique. I'm going based off of that because, let's be honest, Stoltzfus is probably one of the best grapplers right now. I mean, there's not many good wrestlers, not grapplers, wrestlers specifically. And Dustin showed that he could be one of the best wrestlers in this division.
I'll say, like, I feel like he could win this fight if it gets to the second round, but I think it's going to get early, and I think he's not going to get the takedowns in the first round.
I don't think so either, yeah.
And that's the thing. If he's not getting the takedowns in the first round, I see him getting knocked out by Bruno Ferreira.
It's possible, but someone like him, he's always going to keep shooting.
Yeah.
So
if he can survive that first round, then yeah, he pulls it off. But I'm going to bet on Bruno Ferreira catching him in the first round.
There's nothing wrong with that because I can see that happening too.
Yeah. Yeah. Next fight up, we got Raul Rosas Jr. versus Ricky Turcios. And I'm going with Raul Rosas Jr. because I think Ricky Turcios, he is a pretty average fighter, if I'm being honest. He's nothing too special. He goes to decision a lot of split decisions, a lot of decisions throughout his career. And Rosas Jr., he's going out here and he's finishing dudes. He's knocking dudes out. He got power, and he also has very good submission ability and really good wrestling. Very athletic, very strong. And Turcios isn't really that athletic. He's not that strong looking. But he is a dog, and I'll give him that. He is a dog. He can grit down on his mouthpiece and make an entertaining fight. But I see Raul Rosas Jr. just pulling it off in the first round. I think he's going to get a submission in the first round because Turcios, man, his wrestling defense is not that good. In his last fight against Kevin Natividad, he got taken down 7 times by Natividad. Natividad isn't really that technical of a wrestler. He kind of just shoots that single leg, shoots that double leg, and just tries to get you down with his strength. And Raul Rosas Jr. is way more technical with his wrestling and his approach when it comes to the grappling. So I see Raul Rosas Jr. maybe even piecing him up a little bit at first in the beginning of the fight, and then getting a takedown, and I think he's going to get a submission in the first round.
Yeah, and the fact that Raul Rosas Jr. is so young and like compared to the older fighters, he can make steps up in his game much faster than all these guys. You know the term, you can't teach old dog new tricks. That's mostly true for the most part, but you can still learn later on in your career. We've seen it with other fighters, DC, Yoel Romero, all these other fighters are much later in their career or in their life cycle, for that matter, and still gaining new knowledge, gaining new strategies. But the fact that he's so young coming into this game, he's learning a lot watching these UFC fighters. I think he's getting pretty acclimated to UFC. So I think that can be a big factor. He's going to keep working on his stand-up. His takedown game is good. His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. Some of the best in his division, I truly believe. Like, he could probably go roll with some of the guys in the top 15 and probably submit them in a jiu-jitsu. But that's just jiu-jitsu. But that's the thing. Like, Ricky Turcios is one of those guys where if he keeps it standing, he can make it a dog fight. He can make it one of those fights, and we haven't seen Raul tested in that way. I feel like the matchmakers were sitting, I was like, what's a good matchup that's not throwing him into the wolves just yet, but someone that it's possible from the win, but someone that can bring it to him. And that's who Ricky Turcios is. He's someone that can bring it to him, but if he gets taken down, it's going to be a very short night. I truly believe, because that grappling is very elite for such a young guy as well. And that's what I like about Raul Rosas. I was kind of hating on him when he first came. I was like, who's this guy? And then he goes out there and doing things that freaking Paddy Pimblett should have been doing. You know, and he wasn't doing that. Like, Paddy Pimblett's got tested by people like Jared Gordon. So it's like, it's tough. It's tough to say this one because, like I said, Raul is so young. But I feel like that's giving him the edge in this fight. But Ricky Turcios is very battle tested. He's been in many fights. He's been in a lot of like split decisions went all the way, and we haven't seen Raul get to that point yet. So if there's any way, any person that says that Ricky Turcios is 100% loose and they're lying to you, they don't really know MMA, they don't know UFC. So I think this one could be a toss up, but I'm gonna go with Raul as well. I think he's gonna go there, get the takedown, beat him up, ground and pound, and then officially submit him.
Yeah, me too.
And for the co-main, we got Dominic Reyes versus Dustin Jacoby. And Dominic Reyes, it sucks because he has one of those fighting styles where if it becomes a point fight and you're going in there and trying to keep the distance and fight in that manner, Dominic Reyes is one of the best in the world. But if you got power and trying to be up all in his face, Dominic Reyes folds. And we've seen that, like, with more recently Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann is not the most crazy technical. He has some technicality. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's not technical at all. But compared to other people in the division, he's not the most technical. He just has crazy power, a crazy will to just bite him down on the mouthpiece, charge forward, and piece you the fuck up. So it's tough to say with this one because Dustin Jacoby isn't that type of fighter. But Dominic Reyes' chin isn't what it used to be. Yuri destroyed his chin. And I think that's what ultimately made Dominic Reyes to what he is now. You know, this withered, broken down Dominic Reyes. But I truly, it's maybe more so I don't want to believe Dominic Reyes is on the falling point. Because I don't think he is. But his chin isn't all the way there. I don't know how much more CTE he can take. So it's tough to say. But I think overall, if Ryan Spann didn't knock him out the way he did, I would definitely be going Dominic Reyes 100% because Dustin Jacoby is very more measured. He's much slower in that pace. He's not a very fast puncher. He can take damage as well, but it's odd, you know.
It's just like
it's very odd. Yeah.
And whenever you look at Reyes, look at his last couple fights, just watch every single one of them, and whenever you get to the last one, it's like he's fighting a good fighter. It's like at least it's Yuri that slept him, you know. At least it's Jan Blachowicz, and then you see him get slept by Ryan Spann and completely walked through by Ryan Spann. It's like, man, this guy, how is he even going to have confidence coming into his next fight? But at least he's fighting Dustin Jacoby, a guy that pretty much has pillow hands.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, because I don't want to say that. And then he goes out there and sleeps sleeps Reyes. But I really hope Reyes pulls this off, man. I think if he is confident in his chin and, you know, he comes out looking fast, because he did look fast against Ryan Spann, but it was just too much power for him. I think this is a good matchup to where he has a chance because Jacoby doesn't sleep anybody. He did knock out Kennedy Nzechukwu, but Nzechukwu has no chin for real too.
And no gas tank.
No gas tank, no chin. So at least Reyes has a gas tank, you know what I mean? But I'm going with Dustin Jacoby. He's been doing a lot better than Dominic Reyes in his recent fights. He's a world-class kickboxer. He came from Glory. He's not sleeping dudes. He doesn't have insane power. So I don't think there's a chance he probably would knock out Reyes because Reyes' chin is just completely gone. I hope he doesn't knock him out. I hope Reyes at least puts on a good fight and goes to war. But
so you're going for Dustin?
Yeah, I'm going for Dustin Jacoby. I think he's going to probably win a decision. But I really do hope Reyes wins. It's like how can you pick Reyes? There's no way to pick Reyes after seeing the way he's getting just destroyed by Ryan Spann and getting knocked out in his last couple
I believe
fights.
he can do it because Dominic Reyes has the skill. He has the technicality over Dustin, in my opinion, kickboxing or no kickboxing. And he does have power as well. So if he can somehow, some way get over that, he really needs his win. Out of all the fights he could have taken, Dustin Jacoby's a good matchup just because he's slow. Ryan Spann's a much faster puncher. Like you said, Dustin Jacoby got pillow hands.
Yeah, he's unathletic. He's not.
A lot of the favor is turned to Dominic Reyes. Mm-hmm. But the fact that Dominic Reyes got slept, like you're saying.
I feel like if this was before the Ryan Spann fight, I'd be picking Dominic Reyes all day. But after seeing him get knocked out by Ryan Spann, it makes me not confident. But I really does hope he pull it off.
And we're not coming at Ryan Spann because he's definitely a top 15 type fighter, top 20 type fighter. Because of his power, because of his aggressiveness, and
his all-aroundness.
His all-aroundness, he can wrestle as well too. So it's no heat at him. Because honestly, I think Ryan Spann will beat Dustin Jacoby.
Yeah, he would.
I think he would.
Yeah, I think he would too.
Dustin Jacoby went to decision with Alonzo Menfield, and Alonzo Menfield is kind of mid. You know, he's pretty decent, but he's a mid fighter. He's not. He's a middle of the pack.
But at least he was piecing up Menfield for at least 14 minutes of that 15-minute fight. Yeah, he was winning. But then the other 1 minute was him getting hurt by Menfield.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is he could take a punch, but Dominic Reyes is a much faster fighter. Just his hand speed. I can't see any way Not even by decision. I don't know why. It's just my personal opinion. I think Dominic Reyes is gonna win by decision.
You think so?
Yeah.
I hope so, man. I hope you're right.
I'm gonna go the opposite than you.
Next fight up for the main event, we got Jared Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imavov, and I'm going with Jared Cannonier. I think he's much more proven, and he's a championship level fighter. I think he could be champion. He's got the skills to do it, and he's got a lot of power. And Imavov, he's got no finishing ability on the feet, and he's got pillow hands. Let's be real here. He's got really good footwork. He's got nice kicks, nice little pitter-patter shots, little pitter-patter jabs. So, you know, in the earlier rounds, I could see him winning some earlier rounds. But as the fight goes on, as Cannonier's pressuring him, and I think he's gonna break Imavov. He's gonna pressure him. He's gonna tire him out. He's just gonna walk him down and land his boxing combinations. And I see him winning the decision. Imavov, he has that tendency to kind of break, you know. As the fight goes on, he gets tired because he has a lot of elusive footwork, and he can't keep that up for a whole full 5 rounds. So, and Cannonier can. Cannonier in his last fight, he showed that he can really push a good pace against Marvin Vettori. And he shows that as the fight goes on, he gets even better. And he has a really good gas tank, and he can throw those power shots all 5 rounds. And still have a lot of power in those 4th and 5th rounds. And Imavov just has no power at all. I don't see him catching Cannonier as he's coming in or hurting him. He's not a finisher. And he, like I said, he has that tendency to get broken, to gas out as the fight goes on. And that's just what I see happening. He also didn't look too impressive against Roman Dolidze. And Roman Dolidze has crap striking, man. His striking is like atrocious, if I'm being honest. And if you're not able to put away Roman Dolidze, you have no power at all, dude. And that's unfortunate.
Imavov, if he would have slept Dolidze, this would be more of a toss-up of a fight, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough. It's tough to say that he has shitty striking because he doesn't. But compared to Jared Cannonier, I think Jared Cannonier's striking is way beyond Imavov. Imavov is just riding the wave. That's all he's doing. Mm-hmm. He got a lucky fight with Sean Strickland and got demolished all 5 rounds and looked gassed. One of those things is like when you're that gassed, even in the Dolidze fight, he was tired, huffing and puffing. I don't think I've ever seen Jared Cannonier at middleweight that tired, ever. He's throwing the same speed. He's one of those fighters that throw the same speed throughout the whole fight. He paces himself incredibly well. And sometimes people come at him, oh, he's a boring fighter, but they forget about his knockouts rising up. They forget about, now he's at the top of his game right now, and he's much of a more smarter fighter, much more cerebral fighter. And I think that he's in a class way above. And Imavov is getting a chance to try to make his way into the top 5. And I think it's disrespectful because he didn't fight anybody else that really deserved him to be there fighting Jared Cannonier. He should have demolished Dolidze. That shouldn't even been a question. And the fact that went to a majority decision and not a unanimous, that should tell you a lot. And Dolidze's poop. Or not even trying to come at him, he's poop. Mm-hmm. The next guy he fights that's a good striker, that with some decent takedown, he's going to get knocked the hell out. And we're going to see that the difference between Imavov and these other guys. He's not going to make it. He's just riding the wave, the Dana White wave, and he's getting lucky. I think he's getting lucky with these matchups, and you gotta give credit to Jared Cannonier. He accepts the fights. You don't care. He's gonna accept whatever fight comes his way. You never hear about Jared Cannonier denying fights. A lot of people don't want to fight Jared Cannonier. So I think that, like you were saying, Jared Cannonier is a title contender fighter, and he's going to show why against Imavov. Imavov is going to I'll be surprised if Imavov does win a round, to be very honest with you. I don't think that he can.
He can win the first round.
Possibly, just because he's fresh.
With his footwork, he's fast, you know. He can,
but Jared Cannonier's his defense is beyond anyone that Imavov has ever fought, other than Sean Strickland, and we've seen what Sean Strickland did to him. So, I think he's going to finish him late. I think he really is going to finish him late.
Yeah, I think he'll finish him too, probably in the later rounds.
Yeah.
And another thing, I could see Cannonier even going for takedowns, because I feel like his grappling is pretty underrated.
It is.
He's got some good takedowns. He's strong, and I could see him. You know, Imavov got taken down multiple times in previous fights. His takedown defense isn't really that good, and I could see even Cannonier mixing it up, getting some takedowns here and there. and getting him even more tired as the fight goes on. So yeah,
I agree completely.
I'm definitely going for Cannonier.
Me too. Well, that's gonna wrap it up. We hope you guys enjoyed. My name's Nate.
I'm Elijah.
Thank you for joining us at MMA Bros.